Welcome to the Silent Chronicles.
Why is the United States involved in almost every major war in the world? From Eastern Europe to the Middle East and the Pacific, one nation repeatedly appears at the center of modern conflicts: the United States. Its presence, whether through direct military action, diplomatic pressure, or the quiet hum of a drone, is a defining feature of the global landscape. This constant involvement is not accidental. It is the carefully constructed result of a worldwide system meticulously built in the aftermath of World War II. A system founded on a sprawling network of military alliances, a constellation of overseas bases, a massive arms export industry, and unparalleled political influence. By examining the arc of American foreign policy over the last 8 decades, a clear picture emerges. It shows how deeply entrenched security commitments and vital economic interests inexorably pull the United States into conflicts thousands of miles from its own shores. Even when American soldiers are not on the front lines, the decisions made in Washington ripple across the globe, shaping how wars begin, how they intensify, and how they spread. This immense power makes the United States one of the most significant, and often controversial, forces driving modern global instability. The origins of this global posture can be traced back to the ashes of 1945. Emerging from the Second World War as the world's preeminent economic and military power, the United States faced a choice. It could retreat into the isolationism that characterized its PI stance, or it could step onto the world stage to shape the new international order. It chose the latter, driven by the ideological and geopolitical threat of the Soviet Union. The Truman Doctrine in 1947 was the first major declaration of this new role, pledging to support free peoples who are resisting attempted subjugation by armed minorities or by outside pressures. This wasn't just rhetoric. It was a commitment that first manifested in providing aid to Greece and Turkey to counter communist influence, setting a precedent for intervention that would be repeated countless times. This commitment was quickly institutionalized through a series of military alliances. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization (NATO), formed in 1949, was the cornerstone of this strategy. Its Collective Defense Clause, Article 5, declared that an attack on one member was an attack on all, effectively extending America's security umbrella over Western Europe. This model was replicated across the globe with pacts like SEATO in Southeast Asia and CENTO in the Middle East, along with bilateral defense treaties with key nations like Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. These alliances were not just paper promises. They required a physical presence. This led to the establishment of hundreds of U.S.N. military bases in dozens of countries, creating a permanent forward deployment of American power. These bases served as launchpads for military operations, hubs for intelligence gathering, and powerful symbols of American commitment. A conflict erupting near a U.S.N. base in Germany, Japan, or Qatar was no longer a distant problem. It was a direct challenge to American strategic positioning. As the Cold War solidified, this global network became the primary tool for containing Soviet influence. The Korean War in the 1950s saw the U.S.N. led a United Nations coalition to defend South Korea, a direct military confrontation born from the logic of containment. The Vietnam War, which evolved from an advisory role in the 1950s to a full-scale military intervention in the 1960s, was the ultimate and most tragic expression of this policy. The domino theory, the belief that the fall of one nation to communism would lead to the collapse of its neighbors, justified immense sacrifice in a conflict far from American soil. Even conflicts where the U.S.N. did not send troops were shaped by its influence. Through the CIA, the U.S.N. engaged in covert operations, supporting coups, arming insurgencies, and propping up friendly regimes from Iran and Guatemala to Chile and Afghanistan. These actions were deemed necessary to prevent Soviet gains, but they often sowed the seeds of long-term instability, resentment, and blowback that would entangle the U.S.N. in future conflicts. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 did not lead to an American retreat. Instead, the U.S.N. emerged as the world's sole superpower, and the rationale for its global involvement shifted from containment to maintaining a unipolar world order. The 1991 Gulf War was a key moment. In response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, the U.S.N. assembled a massive international coalition to expel Iraqi forces. This operation was not just about liberating Kuwait. It was about enforcing international norms, protecting the free flow of oil, the lifeblood of the global economy, and demonstrating America's willingness and capacity to act as the world's policeman. The 1990s also saw U.S.N. intervention in the Balkans, where it led NATO airstrikes to stop ethnic cleansing in Bosnia and later in Kosovo. These humanitarian interventions were framed as a moral imperative, yet they also served to reinforce American leadership in Europe and the relevance of the NATO alliance in a post-Cold War era. The economic dimension of American involvement cannot be overstated. The post-World War II system was designed to promote a global capitalist economy, with the U.S.N. at its center. The Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and the U.S.N. dollar's status as the world's primary reserve currency gave America immense economic leverage. Protecting this system became a core national interest. Conflicts that threaten key trading partners, disrupt vital shipping lanes, or jeopardize the stability of energy markets are seen as direct threats to American prosperity. The U.S.N. Navy's role in policing the world's sea lanes, from the Strait of Hormuz to the South China Sea, is a clear manifestation of this link between economic interests and military power. When pirates, rogue states, or rival powers threaten these commercial arteries, the U.S.N. is often the first to respond, drawn in by the need to protect the global economic engine upon which it so heavily depends. Furthermore, the United States is the world's largest arms exporter. This multi-billion-dollar industry creates deep, long-term relationships with client states. When the U.S.N. sells advanced fighter jets, tanks, and missile defense systems to a country, it is not just a commercial transaction. It includes training, maintenance, and a political commitment to that nation's security. When a country armed with American weapons goes to war, the U.S.N. is instantly involved. It has a stake in the outcome, a need to resupply its partner, and a responsibility to manage the escalation of a conflict fought with its technology. The recent war in Ukraine is a prime example. While no U.S.N. troops are fighting, America's role as the principal supplier of military aid, intelligence, and financial support has been decisive in Ukraine's ability to resist the Russian invasion. Similarly, America's long-standing security partnership with Israel and significant arms sales to Gulf monarchies like Saudi Arabia mean that any major conflict in the Middle East will inevitably draw a response from Washington, whether it be diplomatic, economic, or military. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 inaugurated a new era of American intervention, defined by the global war on terror. This was a conflict without clear borders, against a non-state actor, Al-Qaeda. The response was a swift invasion of Afghanistan to topple the Taliban regime that harbored the group, followed by the 2003 invasion of Iraq based on flawed intelligence about weapons of mass destruction. These was evolved into protracted counter-insurgency campaigns that lasted for 2 decades, costing trillions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives. The war on terror also saw a dramatic expansion of a more clandestine form of U.S.N. military action. Drone strikes, special operations raids, and surveillance became the primary tools for targeting suspected terrorists in countries like Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, and Syria. This approach allowed the U.S.N. to project lethal force with a smaller physical footprint and fewer American casualties, but it also raised profound questions about sovereignty, civilian casualties, and the legality of perpetual low-level warfare. This over-the-horizon capability means the U.S.N. can become involved in a conflict with the push of a button, far from public view. Today, as the U.S.N. pivots its focus toward great power competition with China and Russia, the architecture of its global involvement is being reproposed. The alliance network in the Pacific, once a relic of the Cold War, is being revitalized and expanded to counter Chinese influence. The AUKUS Security Pact with the United Kingdom and Australia, and deepened ties with the Philippines and Japan, are all part of a strategy to create a bulwark against potential Chinese aggression. Any conflict over Taiwan, for instance, would almost certainly trigger America's treaty obligations and strategic interests, pulling it into a direct confrontation with a nuclear-armed power. In Eastern Europe, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has breathed new life into NATO, leading to the deployment of more U.S.N. troops to the region and the accession of new members like Finland and Sweden. The security commitments made decades ago are now being tested in real time, pulling America deeper into the security dynamics of a continent it fought to stabilize after 1945. This intricate web of alliances, bases, economic interests, and arms sales has created a self-perpetuating cycle of involvement. A security guarantee given to one nation creates a rivalry with its neighbor, which may then require another form of American intervention to manage. An arms sale designed to create stability can instead fuel a regional arms race. A covert operation to remove a hostile leader can create a power vacuum that leads to a civil war, demanding yet another response. For the United States, there are few truly foreign wars. The global system it built ensures that instability anywhere can have direct repercussions for American interests. While this system has, at times, maintained peace and deterred aggression, it has also made the United States a party to conflicts far and wide, often with unforeseen and tragic consequences. As the world continues to fracture along new and old fault lines, American involvement, in one form or another, remains one of the few constants, a powerful and deeply embedded force behind the wars that shape our time.